Hello, this is Michele Bond, and thank you for joining me here today. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a type of stretching and how to add a little bit of salt and pepper, as I say, a little seasoning. And why would I want to do that? Well, because we're dealing with fascia. As you know, that's my favorite subject in the whole world. It's my area of expertise with published research and soon a fascia conditioning program. So if you're interested in the fascia conditioning program, appropriate for all levels, especially those who are new to exercise or trying to be committed to exercise, this is the place to start. So just go to michelebond.com, MICHELEBOND.com, and just go to the contact button and say, hey, send me information about your fascia conditioning program. And okay, so before I get to the demonstration today about how to add a little seasoning to your static stretching, I'm going to give you just a little bit of theory. So for those of you that want to get going on this, just bear with me a moment and listen to what I have to say about fascia so that you can be in a better mindset to understand what you are actually doing, and that is actually beneficial. So with fascia, there are a lot of receptors in fascia. They do different things for the body. They respond to different input. So that means that your output, how you perform and feel, is only as good as your input. So we're going to take the common static stretch, which is a stretch that you hold very still for say 30 to 60 seconds, maybe even 90, to increase range of motion, help you with recovery after exercise or sport. And I'm not knocking static stretching. It's fabulous and wonderful and still very valid when done post-exercise or on a rest day, let's say. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two examples of how to finesse this very kind of stretching you've been doing for years to address some of the receptors in fascia that do so much for you, that help with proprioception, helping with balance, helping put a spring in your step, helping you elongate this tissue. There's like Ruffini endings and Pacini endings and free nerve endings and Golgi tendon organs and all these sciencey things that I'm going to help you with, okay? So again, here are the two examples that I'm going to give you to help condition your fascia in a totally different way, and it's super easy to do. So stay tuned for this next part. Okay. Now we're going to add some salt and pepper or seasoning to your calf. We're going to static stretch the calf muscle, but we're going to add some other elements of the movement to make it more fascially oriented stretching, okay? So we're going to bend the left knee, keep the right leg straight so as to stretch the bottom half of your leg, the calf area of your right leg. And I would say take about 15 seconds to just navigate this. Inhale, exhale. You don't really want to feel anything too intense yet. Then from here, we're going to do wave-like stretches. So we're kind of going back and forth. I like to say we're taking the Achilles tendon for a little ride, because in life, you're stretching and shortening all the connective tissue, like when you're walking. So this sort of mimics movement. And then we pause. I say do that 4 to 6 times. Then we're going to add little tiny pulses, just like this. And that imitates more of the bounce-like movement in life. So we want to get our body used to that. So that's 3 things so far. A held portion, a wave-like portion, and a pulsing portion, okay? Also, when we stretch with fascially oriented stretch, we want to involve long chains. Well, the chain that the calf belongs to is the back line. So I suppose you could lift the arm and sort of reach up in one direction while you're pushing your heel down the opposite direction. You can do that for maybe 20 seconds. If your arm gets tired, you can take it down. So that's the 4th thing. The 5th thing is directional changes. So what does that mean? It means instead of just staying like this and only stretching like the middle fibers, you can start to rotate your feet a little bit. You might want to do this holding on, but you might want to rotate the foot. You might want to change the angle of the foot and go into it differently. The idea is you're trying to access different parts of the calf. The calf is sort of shaped like a U shape, okay? So you don't want to just get the middle fibers and say, okay, I'm done. You might want to change your weight a little bit. Do whatever it takes to access different fibers. Then the sixth thing is to actually, after all that, is hold again at the end range of motion. And the most important part is getting out of the stretch slowly. And then bringing the feet together, stamp it out a little bit, and do the other leg. So with this kind of stretching, you're not going to be able to do the whole body in one session. That would take 45 minutes. You could, but what I would recommend is 1 to 2 body parts a day, and there you go. Now we're going to add a little seasoning to the hamstring stretch. You can have an elevated position like this. I have a short chair. You can also do this just with the heel on the ground. It's up to you. Start conservatively though, even if you're an avid exerciser. Trust me on that. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna demonstrate with my left leg so you can see the good camera angle. I'm taking my leg up with my foot flexed so my toe is to the ceiling. My other leg can be straight or slightly turned out for balance. If you want, you can do this next to a wall or have something else to hold on to, like a piece of furniture, whatever you need to do. Okay, so the first order of business is to get into the stretch delicately, okay? Even if you are an avid exerciser, just get that leg up, take some inventory. I already feel the stretch mostly behind my knees, not so much the hamstrings yet. So I personally am just going to hinge forward at the hip, just a hair. Inhale, exhale, okay? And then from there, I'm going to add some little wave-like stretches like we did for the calf. So I can kind of press my leg in and back out, and back in and back out. That's the wave-like stretch. The pulsing of this would be something like forward, just a little bit more, not a lot. I'm not trying to get to my full range of motion yet. Don't rush this. I know it sounds like I'm scolding you, but I'm not. I'm just very passionate about doing it correctly. So I add these little baby pulses, okay? Then I'm gonna come out of that. Now I'm already kind of in a long chain. We talked about long chains. I could sort of bend forward a little bit, raise my arms, and getting that whole back line. So let's review. Number 1, you get into the stretch conservatively. Number 2, you participate in some wave-like motion 4 to 6 times. Then you hinge forward a little more and you involve yourself in pulses, maybe 15 seconds. Then you can come up a little bit, raise up, and now this is your opportunity to blend this option into directional changes. So if you want to combine the long chain with directional changes, you could do something like this. Now that I'm getting more warmed up, I can start hinging further at the hips and play around with directional changes. And what's neat about the hamstrings is you can play around with directional changes with the upper body for maybe 10 to 20 seconds. And then you can also take your other leg out and play with directional changes by manipulating the foot. You got 2 ways to manipulate directional changes. One with the upper body, one with the lower body. Then from there, you will, after you're so warmed up, then you try to come forward a little bit more and hold at the end range of motion for maybe another 20 seconds. And then always, always, always get out of this very, very slowly. And then you'll do that with the other leg.